Broadcasting worldwide from the beautiful hill country in Texas, this is OneRadioNetwork.com. Well, a very pleasant good morning to you. This is Patrick Timpone. Good morning. It's the 13th of June, 2013. Tony Pantalleresco is here. We really liked him the first time, so we invited him back. He's up in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. It's where everybody went back in the days when I was in college. 1965. That's where all the guys went when they didn't want to shoot people. That's where they went. Of course. Head north, young man. That's what we did. I didn't. I joined. Not to fight, but to go to Armed Forces Radio. I did the Vietnam War playing Frank Sinatra records. 1968, 69. Okay, well, that's enough about me. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. Next hour, in case you're infertile. What? Okay. In case you or your wife can't seem to have a little baby, we're going to talk with an fertility kind of doc. Pretty interesting fellows guy. He's an MD type, but we don't often allow MDs on the show, but we're going to... No, I'm just kidding. But he's got some good information, I think, for those of you who are having the issue or possibly are going to be getting married or going to be having babies soon, and there's some things that maybe you can do to kind of increase that possibility. We'll ask Tony about that as well. One of the things that this doc is going to tell you, I don't know if Tony's going to agree. We'll see. But he says that a JAMA study, you know, JAMA, that's doctors in their pajamas. The JAMA study, there's one out pretty recently, big study, showed that the guys who take these $200-300 a month testosterone, pure testosterone stuff, like in their testicles that releases during the month, and you do it every month, and you've seen some of this stuff, that these are actually decreasing the fertility rate in these guys. Tony, does that surprise you?
No, not at all. No, as a matter of fact, we've helped people here who couldn't get pregnant, or according to their doctors saying that they couldn't get pregnant. We've helped 2 or 3 people, and all we gave them was wheat germ oil, and 9 months later they're having kids. So
really?
Wheat germ oil has been known ever since 1929 to be a fertility promoter. And so that's all we've ever given them, and then we get them off the soy and all the other crap, and tell them, look, start eating right. You got to get your nutrients going. You got to support the endocrine system. The way we put it is, okay, if you're a tree, in order for it to bear fruit, it has to have a foundation. If you have no foundation, forget about having babies.
There could be no fruit.
So yeah, but no, they're absolutely right about that. When these guys start injecting all this testosterone, what winds up happening is they wind up the testicles stop working properly.
Yeah.
So there's less sperm production going on.
So it kind of, Tony, it kind of is giving a clue to the testicles. Since I'm taking it externally here, you guys don't need to do anything. That kind of idea.
Unless you're looking at your age to having babies, it really shouldn't make a difference at this point. I mean, what they're talking about in these studies, it's got to be. Again, I haven't read the study, so I don't know for sure. But I'm assuming that they're dealing with, again, guys who are bodybuilding or are taking a huge excessive amount of testosterone, which is really unnecessary. But they take it because they're looking at the size factor or the definition factor or whatever, right? Yeah. But it's just like anything else. If your body is taking it all from one source to redistribute it somewhere else, you're just not going to have enough in the well to do what you need to do. And a lot of these guys, too, once they take a lot of this stuff, they're still taking Cialis, or they're taking Viagra, or they're taking some kind of erectile projectile kind of thing to get them up and running.
Yeah.
So
and who knows what that does as far as complicated matter. It's interesting. Somebody was on the show. Oh, remember Marilyn Diamond, Harvey Diamond, Marilyn Diamond, the Fit for Life back in the 70s? Remember?
Right.
She was on the show. She still had it about a month ago. And her and her husband were mentioning that one of the nice things for sexuality is wheat germ oil. And then here you are mentioning it again.
It's a product. Well, there's an ingredient in it. Years ago, remember I told you in the last show, we had better products 30 years ago than what we have today.
Right. Yeah.
Today, I would say 95% of the stuff in the shelves in the health food store is just garbage, pure and simple.
My goodness.
And wheat germ oil, they used to take a derivative of wheat germ oil called octocosanol, which increased the oxygen content in the body, and it had it increased your energy, increased your strength. And anybody that got on that stuff, I mean, if you were a cyclist, bodybuilder, whatever, you saw a huge difference in the way you train and whatever, and in recovery.
I'll be darned.
But today, you can't find that product.
Yeah.
Another product that also helps, again, with producing growth hormones, which you can still buy today, is something called MCT. And if you combine it with glycerol, a coconut glycerol or a palm glycerol or tallow glycerol, you'll find, again, stamina, strength, and energy you would not normally have. So we've had good stuff. Unfortunately, and again, if you took that kind of stuff, it would carry over in the reproductive system.
Mm-hmm. Now the MCT, the MCT is the derivative from coconut oil that you can get, right? It's just called MCT oil. And you say you mix it with what?
Glycerol.
What do you mean? What's glycerol?
It's sugar.
Oh, well, forget it.
Okay, it's a sugar. Okay, for those who want to know what glycerol can come from, either plant-based or from fat, animal fat. And what they do is they basically heat up. They take animal fat, for instance, and then they heat it up to get the tallow out from beef or lard, it's pig, and then they heat it up to get the sugar out of it because there's sugar in the cells, and that's glycerol, and that's what our bodies are supposed to be using as a sugar source, not all this fructose, glucose, and all this other oats that we're using. That's the normal chain of energy that the body is supposed to be using. But because we consume so much of these other sugars, it basically shuts that part of it out. Now,
so it shuts down the body's ability, Tony, to make the glycerol naturally?
To utilize it. Because you're using these other sugars.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So this is what causes a lot of the insulin issues that are going on because we're using the wrong sugar. And so as a result, for guys, let's get back to testosterone. The higher the insulin, the lower the testosterone. Okay, and the highest level of testosterone you have is in the heart, brain, and then down below. But it's in the heart mostly. So when the insulin goes up and the testosterone goes down, it's the heart that gets affected. So a lot of these guys having all out of these ED issues because they've got weak hearts. That's where a lot of it comes from. So when you start strengthening the heart and fortifying the heart and giving the heart what it needs, a lot of times some of the stuff fixes itself.
Glycerol, I mean, now people are going to want to go out and buy MCT oil and glycerol. Do you buy glycerol, or what do you do?
Yeah, you can buy glycerol. Just make sure when you buy it. Okay, I've contacted one company, the Now brand. They don't know what their sources are. Sometimes you'll get a soy base, and I'm not interested in anything that has to do with soy.
You got to know the source.
I just tell people straight out, soy is the only thing it's good for is fertilizer. So anyway, but there are. I can go through J. Edwards. You can get it there. It's a palm and coconut. You can contact a lot of these companies to find out where they're getting their sources, and then get it, and then go that route.
Now, if we eat animal fat or coconut oil or MCT oil, are we getting all the glycerol we need, or eggs and stuff like that?
I mean, it's in a very minute amount. I mean, you have to extract it out in order to get an adequate amount. So, for instance, I make my own homemade ice cream. So what I do is I take cream, 30% fat. I'll take yogurt. I take what else? Yogurt and sour cream. And I mix it all together, and then I add my colostrum to it. I add my creatine to it. I add my shilajit to it. Then, then what I also add to it is I add honey and I add glycerol to it. Now, the reason why I add it to it is for two reasons. I'm getting the sugar with the protein and fat, but the glycerol and honey keeps the ice cream from becoming rock hard. It's like, when you go to the store and you buy a box of ice cream, you can scoop it out right away. Well, honey and glycerol act as antifreeze, both of them. Honey doesn't freeze. You can put a jar, if you got unpasteurized honey, you throw it in a jar, put it in the freezer, it will not freeze. And glycerol doesn't either. So you can put them together, and so you've got the sugars that your body would normally use. You've got whatever supplements you want to put in there. You got the probiotic activity in there to help you, break down and utilize the components. You've got the fat content. I'm a big believer in using saturated fats over any fat, over omega-3s, 6s, or 9s. Saturated fat's the big one I go with. So, and it's a complete meal.
And why would you add the honey if you've got the glycerol?
Because that's how it works.
See,
when you put it together, right? I mean, the honey has its own nutritional properties and its own antioxidant properties. But when you're making this stuff, again, this has been through trial and error to see what works and because you get an ice cream thing out, you make ice cream, and then you got a brick, and you got to wait 10 minutes for it to thaw out, and before you can get a spoon through it, right? But when you mix the two together and then you get it in there, it works really good. Hey, and it's not bad tasting. So
after the show with Marilyn Diamond, I went around the internet, kind of looked around for some wheat germ oil. But I really couldn't find any that looked, I don't know, clean or... is there a good brand?
Viobin is one I've used.
Viobin?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one they mentioned, too. Is that okay? Is that a good one?
Viobin is a good one. I've used Capsule-wise. Solgar's got a decent one. Country Life, I think, has one. Now Brand has one. I mean... They're pretty well sourcing it all from the same source. I like Viobin. I mean, they've been around for a long time. I give that, if someone's seriously trying to get pregnant, that's the one I tell them to go take. I tell them to take 1 to 2 tablespoons a day. I had one woman come up to me, said that the doctor said there was no way she could conceive. 9 months later, she had a son. 12 months later, 3 months after that, she came into the store and just wanted to kiss me because she said she's got a healthy baby boy.
And what does the wheat germ oil do? Does it affect the girls and the boys, and in what way?
Both, yeah. The guys, it gives them their stronger sperm, so their hockey team can score a goal in the net where they need to go to get fertilize the egg. The egg becomes more fertile, and it also, like I said, because of the nature of the oil, it helps sustain the body's strength. I mean, if you could find straight octocosonol from wheat, and you used it, so the fat, it oxidizes real fast. It oxidizes actually faster than flaxseed oil. But if you could use that stuff, and you started using it, and you'd see a huge difference. Like I said, the stuff we're selling today, especially in the bodybuilding industry today, the crap they're selling, I wouldn't feed half of it to a pig.
It's very different. So there's something in wheat called oxycosanol.
Octocosanol.
Octocosanol. Octocosanol.
Yeah, if you go on my webpage, I've got a link there on there too. So
I guess is there any issue with the GM? I guess not. A lot of wheat is not GMO though now, right?
You know what? It's all is. That whole thing about grains. I did a show on that on my radio show. I did some research on it. We do not have one grain on the planet that's not GMO. And if anybody thinks that they're eating something safe with organics, they are sadly disillusioned, because we have had over 50 years of cross-contaminating the plants. Matter of fact, I have a scientist that I found from Canada that was actually working on the genetics, and he comes right out and says the same thing I've been saying for 20 years. He actually validated what my comment, that not one grain that we're consuming today has not been affected with genetics, not one.
Well, that's a good reason to stay away from grains.
Well, I've been telling that to people, again, for years, don't eat any grains. And then I get people sending me all these videos about people saying that the grain thing is a farce. And then I send them back and saying, these people that are telling you this are sabotaging your health because, first and foremost, they're not understanding the nature of genetics. Secondly, they're not understanding the mycotoxicity in these grains. And third, they're not understanding that these grains are loaded with estrogens that they didn't have 50 years ago.
Even other than soy grains have estrogens?
They all have estrogen. Well, because, again, they've been altered. One scientist did a study on why people have a wheat allergy. And it's not gluten. It has nothing to do with gluten. That's been the biggest deception in the health food industry ever. When they changed or altered the genetics of the wheat, they increased the proline and the glutamate levels in the wheat. So you have two aminos in there that shouldn't be there in the range that they are, and it's the glutamates that are actually causing the issue because of the way they're causing the brain to react and so forth and so on. So we're not eating something that is biologically tuned into us. So when we're looking at, when you're saying when I tell people don't eat grains, I'm not telling them don't eat grains because I'm against grains per se. I think grains have their place in our diet, but not today's grains.
Mm-hmm. So they mess. You're saying whoever they are, mess with these, even the organic wheats years ago. That we don't know about.
Organics have been violated for over 20 some odd years.
Mm-hmm.
Look. I mentioned this on the last show. I will give 3 examples how we got cross-contaminated. One, there was a scientist in Mexico who they had isolated a section in Mexico with a BT corn. They found that strain of corn isolated 1,600 kilometers, 1,000 miles away. Same strain.
Wow.
You had a guy, and this just happened about 8 or 9 months ago. There was a farmer in the Dakotas was growing genetically modified beets. Wound up finding that he had genetically modified canola growing in his patch because the Canadian goose ate the seeds, flew over, dropped a load on his farm, and it took root. So that's just telling you that the ground he had was so saturated with Roundup and the glyphosates for this to take place that it actually grew. And third, like I said, I've got a Canadian scientist. It's actually in the script of the show that I put up in the June section, where he explains on every level and blows every myth out the door with whoever's thinking they're eating something organically safe, that unless you're growing it indoors today, hydroponics, aquaponics, or it's isolated with like a 90-foot fence, you have had contamination. They've had these things out for 40 years. The rate of spread is 1.5 miles a day. They've had more than enough time to take over the farming in Canada, the United States, and wherever else they've been planting these things for
it's just there.
Period of time.
Well, that's an interesting what you just said. What is this fellow's name? Maybe we can get him on the show. What's his name?
I'll have to hold on a second.
You don't have to do it right now. We have to do a commercial break, and then I'll get it from you, or I'll do an email. Okay, Tony Pantalleresco, and you can go to YouTube, and if you put in Herbs Plus Speedworks, that's the name of his place there in Windsor. They have a kind of a health food place. Herbs Plus Speedworks. He has all kinds of videos. Tony doesn't have any credentials, but he's simply a guy that does a lot of research, as you can hear. And he claims to know a lot about health. He sure sounds like he knows what he's talking about. Interesting, right? 20 minutes after the hour, we're going to do this little thing, and then we'll be back with Tony. If you have a question to get his opinion on this or that, you can do it in a couple of ways. 888-663-6386. Email patrick@oneradionetwork.com. Open phone Friday tomorrow. We'll have lots to talk about. Let's see. 35 to 40% off on the 2-ounce Schizandra if you click an order on One Radio Network. Wow. We love this herb. There are some Chinese medicine people and other herbalists that say that, number one, they think that number one herb ever, I mean, if you're just on a desert island, I don't know, Chinese medicine people, they love this Schizandra because it's got the 5 tastes kind of thing. And this powder is amazing in the way that they do it. They hand pick this way, literally. It's grown in a field that they have up in the Northwest. I think I don't know how many acres they have, maybe 50 acres or so. And then they have the trucks right there on the property. They have a special process. They get them cold, and they keep them preserved, And it's what they go through to get this and to keep the energetics of this Schisandra is probably the best one on the planet. I think it is, talking to these people, and that's why we began promoting it. People love it. I had some this morning. It's really interesting herb, and it's in this powder. Well, the 2 ounce Schisandra extract is between if you order today and tomorrow, 35 to 40% off. I guess they just have some stock, and you know how it is with a small company. They're not that old, and they just got to get cash flow going, so they want to move this product that they've had in the package. They have in the package, and so it's a great time to stock up on some. And if you've not tried it, good time to try it. Front page, click and order, and we'll get a commission on the sale. As a disclaimer, that's how we support ourselves on OneRadioNetwork.com. Previously, we asked Stephen Huer about casein, lactose intolerance, and One World Whey.
Well, casein is a large protein molecule, and due to the deterioration of the human genome and the human species as a race, particularly in America, we've gotten weaker with each generation. Our digestive capacity is weakened as well, and so therefore bigger, harder to digest proteins are more difficult and allergy-causing, whether that be gluten or casein. When you cook a protein like casein through pasteurization, you make it even more indigestible and making it more allergy-causing. But traditionally, if you go back to 200 years ago when people were fairly robust in their health, raw milk products were all that was available, and people thrived on them, and there was no intolerances or allergies of any kind. And that's partly because it's raw, but partly it's because it's grass-fed, but partly it's because people were genetically much stronger and more able to digest protein. We
have no issues with One World Whey protein with that?
Right. There's no casein in this whey, and there's no lactose in the whey. People that have severe dairy intolerances, including even to just whey, thus far we have every single person that has those types of severe dairy intolerances have told us, I have no problem with your product. It's the first whey protein I've ever been able to take where it's been only positive.
You think because it's grass-fed and raw?
Oh, I know it is, yeah.
Yeah, you know it is. Yeah. Okay, there you go. Click and order, front page, OneRadioNetwork.com.
We hope you're enjoying the program on One Radio Network, sponsored by USGoldCoins.com. At USGoldCoins.com, we provide the best in gold and silver coins, and we've been doing so for over 30 years. Perhaps you're a first-time investor to gold and silver. Perhaps you've been considering adding physical wealth to your portfolio. If you've had any hesitancies at all about looking into this market, now would be a great time to give us a call. 1-800-878-2646 or log on at usgoldcoins.com. We'd be happy to help educate you and provide you with the best in gold and silver coins. Call us today at 1-800-878-2646. Whether you're a seasoned investor or a first-time person to the entire market of gold and silver, we want to be your resource. And you can reach us toll-free, 1-800-878-2646.
Okay, the dollar's down a little bit today. Gold is down a little bit too, about $6 to $13.83. Silver is up a few pennies, well, half a buck actually, to $21.92. So on your way to Canada, if they're going to draft you, you just grab some. Just kidding. Oil is about even at $95.80. There you have it from USGoldCoins.com and SDL Incorporated, Andy Goss's company.
We are listener supported. One Radio Network. Talk to Patrick now. 888-663-6386 or email patrick@oneradionetwork.com.
Tony Pantalleresco up in Canada. Probably still got some of those guys that went up there during the Vietnam War. They probably still live there. just kidding.
Maybe.
Just kidding. Oh, my
you were interested in the scientists. If you go on my script of the show for June 22nd, you'll actually see that whole article I just mentioned to you about. He actually comes right out and states that the soy that's being grown, it's genetically engineered, and the corn are basically considered as insecticides. That's how dramatic it is. But anyway, his name, if you want, is Thierry Vrain.
Wow.
From Industry Farm.
Spell that?
Thierry, and then Vrain, Vrain.
And how do we find that article again? Excuse me for being
you go
so...
on my webpage at augmentinforce.50webs.com, and you look at...
hold on a second. Slow down. Augment Inforce? AUGMENT Inforce. Okay.
.50webs.com.
.50 web?
Webs, WEBS.com.
So strange, huh? .com. Okay. Oh, that's your website. Okay.
Yeah, and so there'll be a script of the show link on the left side.
Mm-hmm.
Just click on the June script for 2013.
Okay.
And it's on the June 22nd show.
Cool. Augmentinforce.50webs.com. That's pretty cool.
So you can see from a direct scientist, he is telling you, plus all the other information that's been coming out for years and years, that a lot of the researchers out there today that are, advocating anti-GMO or whatever, a lot of times they are candy coating a lot of this information so that people are still assuming that they've got this false sense of security with their foods and their farming. And again, when we're talking the volume of grains and things that are being grown today, I'll even take it another step in the health food industry. You go into a store and you see a product that says non-GMO, whatever, added to the product. Okay, it gives the consumer a false sense of security because they're seeing non-GMO, and it's highlighted, it's bracketed, it's huge, so it's right in your face, non-GMO. But what they're not telling you is that there's already genetically modified components in that product. All they've done is added a non-GMO material to whatever's already there. So you're assuming that when you're buying that product, you're getting a GMO-free product, and in reality, you're not.
Yeah. Well, as you know, more and more information is out, Tony, where these are very dangerous. We interviewed, Ahmad Putze, the guy who really, he blew it open, many years ago over in Hungary, years ago. And we just put a study up on our website that you might want to take a look at. It's called New Study Shows That Animals Are Seriously Harmed by Eating GM Crops. We were the first one to release it yesterday morning. Judy Carmen, Howard Vlieger, who we had on the show. Howard knows about glyphosates and all these, man. He's been on the show, and we're going to get them on and have them on probably next week. But anyway, they did a study, and this lady's in Australia, and they proved that just the cows and these animals that are eating GMO corn and soy, which they're all fed, most of them, right? They're getting damaged. They're getting inflamed intestines, and they're actually they're killing not killing the animals, but these animals are sick.
Well, actually, they are killing the animals. That's what you said it right. They are killing the animals. They're feeding them this stuff. I never understood this concept. If you go to a lot of the countries that are rejecting GMO imports, what they are allowing is the GMO corn or grain or wheat or even canola, whatever, to be fed to the animals, which to me is completely ludicrous because what winds up happening is as soon as these animals defecate, the genetic material that is now getting into the soil, altering the bacterial content of the soil. So you're already altering the genetic code of the soil itself.
Wow.
So it never made any sense to me why we would feed these things to the animals, except other than the fact that they're assuming that the animal can break down the bulk of that material. Vegetarians and vegans, they're getting 100% exposure. And if you read this, again, if you read the report from this guy, actually there was another, on the show on the 29th, they even go on to another thing there. A lot of the meat that is not
purely
grass-fed,
people
would not normally eat, is now being put in with vegan foods, and they're not even aware of it.
That's crazy.
So a lot of the vegans are still eating meat, but they're eating the brains and the guts and the leftover parts that nobody else would touch normally.
Well, you got to be careful these days, Tony. As you know, our trademark here is Know the Source, and boy, it's going to be so important moving forward. Yeah, man.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
Just to know. I mean, you even go, as you know, you go to the farmer's market and you buy some great-looking eggs, and they say, oh, these are pastured eggs, and then you start talking to them, and you find out, of course, at night they give them some GMO corn and soy and stuff like that, which is not good,
Well, I'll tell you a true story. Friends of mine down in Arizona was going to a major health food grocery store down there. It wasn't Sprouts. It was another big one. And so they were buying chicken, and they kept asking these people, are the chickens being fed any soy? And they swore up and down they were free range and they were fed nothing but the best. Well, these two were so impressed, they drove all the way to California to see the company because they were looking at thinking of maybe investing money in the stock or whatever with this company because they were so impressed that they were actually going out of their way to feed the chickens and all this stuff with non-genetically modified soy or any soy products whatsoever. When they got there, the rude awakening was they told me that they were not only feeding these animals soy, they also knew what the soy was doing to the animals, and they didn't really care. All they cared about was the fact that the animal was big, fat, and weighed so much, and they got so much for the chicken. Mm-hmm. And that was the bottom line. So that same company has come out and said that we should coexist with genetics. That the war on genetics is over and that we should coexist. So in my humble opinion, when you hear a company say this, it's telling you that it's been either bought out by the bigger conglomerates, and B, since they have no ethical or moral practices in their sales, nobody should support these people.
Yeah.
If they fell to dust, you're not losing anything if these companies just start going out of business, and I think they should go out of business.
Okay, here's an email from Dwight for Tony Pantalleresco. Wonder what Tony thought about fermented cod liver oil versus traditionally processed cod liver oil. There's that blue label that the Weston Price people promote. I think it's called Blue Ice. It's fermented. Okay. They say it's a more natural, traditional way to do cod liver oil. Any opinions on that?
To be honest with you, I don't use fish oils at all. I'm not a believer in fish oils. I just don't think that the credibility is there. I mean, they're all loaded with mercury. They're all loaded with levels of arsenic. I just don't use them. I mean, I use walnut oils or other omega-3 oils other than fish oils, so I can't really make a comment on fermentation or non-fermentation. Omega-3s oxidize extremely quickly, so I would have to see how they're fermenting the oil without turning it into a more rancid oil. I don't know how they're processing it. I don't know how they're doing it. I don't have the research to say that it's safer or it's not safer. Personally, myself, I do not advocate fish oils.
No. Well, there's more people like Dr. Wilson, who's recently been on the show, the hair analysis guy, Dr. Hal Huggins, who you know about probably. Mm-hmm. He doesn't go anywhere near fish, anywhere near it. The only thing that Dr. Wilson is suggesting that maybe sardines a few times a week is okay because they're small enough in the Atlantic. But so you don't think that these cod liver oil people, Tony, or do you know, can they pharmaceutically clean these things up to get the mercury out? I don't know.
How?
I don't know. They claim they do. They claim they do.
Oh, that's a lot of hogwash, man. Jeez. Look, we were talking about nanoparticles earlier. Mm-hmm. When you're talking the level of contamination that these fish are being exposed to, and some of these farm fish, they're being released into the oceans today. There's no way you can get it all out. What? Again, it's a misnomer. What goes on is this: there's a certain level of toxicity of mercury that is really dangerous, and what happens is they just filter it down to it's on the lower end. Mm-hmm. So they're saying, so by having it go below a certain standard, they can say that it's mercury-free, but it isn't. And you still have arsenic in this stuff, too. I personally don't encourage these things, especially if somebody's already compromised.
High mercury
you got a
levels.
child.
Yeah.
You got a child who's got some mental issues going on because they have a zinc deficiency or a B3 deficiency because mom ate soy during the gestation period, or they fed soy products to the child, so it depleted the zinc and depleted the B3 out of the child. I'm not going to give them fish oil. I'm going to get their zinc levels back, their B3 levels back. I'm going to give them saturated fat, not omega-3. Mm-hmm. I'll give them wheat germ oil, not omega-3. I will give them sunflower lecithin, not omega-3. I'm going to regenerate and rebuild the cellular integrity of the brain, feed the brain the fat that it needs, which is a saturated fat, not an omega-3. So, I mean, we do need omega-3s, but again, I'd rather tell people, go get some flaxseed, grind it down, release the oil out of it. You've got a 45-minute window. Use it fresh. That you'll get a benefit from. And again, you don't have any metal contaminants. You don't have any arsenic contaminants. it's a lot cleaner.
Yeah. Are there any that you know of estrogenic effects or downsides to flax?
Okay, it's an omega-3, so theoretically it should not affect an estrogen load in the system, theoretically, but it also has the lignans in it, which also bind with estrogen. So, again, estrogen's a funny thing to be dealing with because we're so exposed to it between the phytoestrogens that everybody's consuming because everyone's told it's such a wonderful thing.
Right. And
then you got the xenoestrogens which we're exposed to. When the two combine, they actually form a synergy that actually makes them worse. So again, I was using flax as an example. There's perilla oil, which is an omega-3 as well. There's walnut oil, which is also an omega-3. I tell people go get walnut oil. Use it instead.
You can get macadamia nut oil, Brazil nut oil.
That's an omega-9.
That's 9. It
may have some traces of 3, but that's a 9.
But walnut is 3, huh? Walnut oil.
Pumpkin seed oil is a 9. Olive oil is a 9. Your perilla oil is a 3. Your walnut oil is a 3. Your flax is a 3.
What's a perilla? What is that? I don't know that one.
It's from the periwinkle plant, and when they extract it, they can pull out an omega-3 out of it.
Do you think that like a good red palm oil is good to maybe cook with?
Oh yeah, it's a saturated fat. I'm a big believer of tallow. I'm a big believer of lard, butter, ghee, coconut oil, palm oil. These are the fats that your cells need to first clean out whatever's in the system. Second, to reintegrate or reconstruct or hold up the cells on the cellular level. Your cells go flat or they become damaged. They can't communicate with each other. The frontal lobe of the brain has 20% saturated fat, which feeds the brain. The fat around the heart is a saturated fat component, stearic acid, which supplies energy to the heart. So you need that. You need that more than anything else. I always tell people if I'm going to be using saturated fats, and this is what I encourage, use antioxidants that are going to keep the fats flowing, like bay leaf, rosemary, sage, thyme, CQ10, garlic, onion, red pepper, vitamin C, lysine. You got lots you can keep it so that it's flowing.
Keep it flowing. Yeah. Okay. Let's take this call. Hi, what's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Yes, good morning, gentlemen. This is Robert in Houston, Texas.
Robert in Houston, Texas. You're on the air with Tony in Windsor, Ontario. Go ahead.
Hello, Tony. Boy, the more you talk, the more things I'm thinking about. The first thing is when I get raw goat milk, the girl is doing a really good job. However, she doesn't have enough grass on her land to, produce good milk. So she does have to give them probably some feed, which may contain some corn or soy, which she's really trying to do the best she can. Is that broken down in the animal, or is that, I hate to throw out the raw milk.
A goat has 4 stomachs, so by the time it gets to the other end, all that's left is what's left. The digestive system of the goat is probably the most superior digestive system on the planet. This cow has two stomachs, if I'm not mistaken. So their digestive system is designed to break almost anything down. Now, you are probably going to get some traces of something there as well, and I wouldn't worry about it too much. You with all the with all the crap you're exposed to,
it's probably the least of your worries, right?
That's the least of your worries. Okay. I would drink the goat milk that she's selling you without a moment's hesitation.
Okay, Robert, you have another question.
Yes, what's your comment on eggs? Eggs would be the same, so I would think if they were giving the eggs a little bit of grain too, because I'm getting some nice pasture eggs, but again, they can't maintain their health with just...
Okay, and again, same rule of thumb. Look, the two superfoods on the planet, anybody that's going to try to sell you a superfood, and the two superfoods on this planet are eggs and unpasteurized milk. There's nothing on the planet that will come close on nutrition, antioxidants, enzymes, bacterial, protein, anywhere. So anybody who's
raw eggs, okay, Tony?
Yeah, as long as you if you're going to do raw eggs, you got to make sure you increase your biotin levels because you can displace your biotin. But yeah, a formula I used to do when I was in Arizona, we had Jersey cows. So I would have my unpasteurized milk. I'd put 1 raw egg in there. I would put the essential oil of cinnamon in there, honey, unpasteurized honey, iodine, and maybe a tablespoon of wine, and I blended that together, and I had that every morning with a potato. And it held me for 7 hours.
Wow.
And again, I actually got muscle density on this stuff without even training. Like my body just utilized the proteins and the nutrition in it so well.
Wow.
And the hormones that it was allowing, the saturated fat it was giving me for my hormonal health, it was unbelievable. And if I could get access to that again here in where I'm at, that's what I would be using more than even eating.
Robert,
I would encourage you to do whatever you're doing. Look, we don't live in a perfect world, so if you're worried about those things, then learn to neutralize and negate that element of the food. And that's what I tell everybody to do.
You settled my worries. What about the last thing real quick? What about free-range pork? I like bacon, and I'm getting some good bacon. Is bacon thumbs up?
Okay, I don't eat pork. I'm not a big believer in pork. I mean, if you want to eat it, knock yourself out. I don't discourage people who do eat pork. It does have high levels of sugar in it. So people who are diabetic, I don't encourage them to eat any pork. Now, again, what you're probably eating is probably clean. And again, I'm not trying to dissuade you one way or another. If you know the source, like he was just saying, okay, if you know the source and you know it's a clean source, knock yourself out.
Yeah. Robert, let me throw something in real quick. They do have organic grains for chicken now, and they're quite plentiful. You might want to mention to this lady that you'd be willing to pay a little bit more if she could feed them organic corn and grains. It might take it to another level. Just an idea.
All right. You mean that has, when you say organic, you're talking no corn, wheat, dairy, all the things Tony's talking about?
No, they are grains, but they claim that they're organic. Once again,
they're not, okay, instead of saying organic, non-GMO.
Non-GMO. Okay, so they're non-GMO.
That would be a better way of putting it.
Non-GMO.
Well, I thought Tony just said there is no such thing as non-GMO grains.
Out there in the macro level, but let's do the best we can. So let's not get crazy.
I agree with you.
Let's not be
with
crazy.
Everything you said. I'm not trying to be neurotic about it. I just wanted to get his ideas on it, make sure I was on the right page.
Like I said, for what you're doing, honestly, I would be doing the same thing. Okay, I live in the same planet you live in. Okay, I'm exposed to the same things you're exposed to, maybe on a different level. Because I live in an automotive section, so I got different pollutants and estrogens that I have to deal with as opposed to what you might be dealing with down there. We're all dealing with chemtrails, so that's another issue as well. So if I was where you are, I would be supporting that woman for two reasons. One, she's a local farmer, number one. Number two, she is giving you, between that and the supermarket, you have got something far superior than even to buy at a grocery store.
Yeah.
So, again, you're doing good. Yeah. And, again, I would encourage you to do what you're doing. If you need to take an antioxidant or you need to take a herb to offset some of the things that you might be exposed to, then do that. I mean, iodine is something you want to be using regularly, I think, in my humble opinion, to protect your body from a lot of the pathogens that might be there anyway. I mean, you got to remember, we're not living in a perfect world.
Yep. Okay, this is from Ed in Ohio. During the last show, Tony, you said that new chapter, Zyflamed, worked well blocking conversion of estradiol to estrogen in men, which is an issue for me. I want to try this instead of the pharmaceutical my cardiologist gave me. I found the Zyflamed only to learn there are 7 different formulations of Zyflamed made. Which one works for this? The 7 formulations are whole body, tiny caps, breast, heart, nighttime, prostate, veggie caps. Could you please elaborate on this?
Okay, I only know of
do you remember the
they
one
got
you said?
an AM and PM, and they've got okay, it's not the woman one he wants, that's for sure. Basically, in it, it'll have the ginger, rosemary, green tea, oregano, barberry, a form of resveratrol. It's just a basic one. The first one they came out with. That's the one we've always used.
But you don't know which one it's named.
No, I'd have to take a look. I mean, I just assumed that because it just says Zyflamed on it.
They got 7 different kinds. I found the same
that
thing.
I didn't know. I mean, like I said, we only deal with the one. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of that particular company to begin with, but they do have that one product. Well, they actually got 3 products that I think that they've actually nailed really good. But the rest I wouldn't bother with. But that Zyflamed one, like I said, it has had some. Even if you do a PubMed search on it, you'll find that actually they did the study on it to validate the claim, and it seems to help a lot of the guys.
Mm-hmm. Here's an email from Dwight. Wonder what sources Tony advises for getting glycerol. J. Edwards has glycerin. Would be eating glycerin provide the glycerol we need to combine with MCT?
Glycerin and glycerol, the same thing.
Okay, glycerin. So they went to J. Edwards and got glycerin.
Yeah,
same thing.
It's the same thing. Glycerin, glycerol, they're interchangeable terms. It's the same thing.
And how much would you take of the MCT in that?
It would, I don't know, depending on what I'm doing. If I'm just using it for
energy
daily stuff, maybe a teaspoon of each.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You know, if I'm training, cycling, or doing whatever, then I'm definitely going to go up with the fat. Like I said, I'm a bigger believer using the ketones as energy rather than the
burn the fat, burn
sugar.
The fat. Yeah.
Okay. So MCT burns like a sugar anyway.
Leslie, Southern California, wants to know what is your recommended dose for iodine, and what kind do you recommend?
I usually push the Lugol's. I'm a big believer of Lugol's iodine. Mm-hmm. I mean, nascent iodine is good. Iodoral and the Iosol basically are just another form of Lugol's. Generally speaking, depending on what's going on with an individual, but as a general rule of thumb, 1 to 4 drops a day, and or higher depending on what's going on. I'll give you an example. One couple that came in here, the husband was having problems with mental issues. They were giving him 20 drops 3 times a day for several weeks, 4 weeks, and then they dropped a load. In that 4-week time frame, you saw a complete transformation.
Whoa.
On the mental acuity.
Before
he was withdrawn, sullen.
What does the iodine do on the mental acuity?
Oh,
just clean up the brain.
You have no idea.
Just clean up the brain.
You're up. I mean, instead of giving you lithium for depression, they should be giving you iodine and tyrosine. It's an amazing. I'm a huge fan of iodine.
Now, when you say 1 to 4 drops, I want to be clear here for everybody. You know me, I'm just kind of anal sphincter about this stuff. The Lugol's have many different strengths. So 1 to 4... 5%.
5% or 7%, 10%. Whatever, the 2%, you may as well just use urine. It's about the same strength.
So try to get a 5, 7, or 10.
5 to 7%, yeah.
Okay, and 1 to 4 drops is a reasonable thing.
Yeah, you can. I always tell people start off with 1 to 4 drops, see how you're going to react. Mm-hmm. Now, if you do not take all 4 drops at once if you've never done this. Spread it out. And go 2 and 2, 1 4 times a day, but don't take them all at once. If you do have a reaction, because if you take too much, you may wind up with a heart palpitation, which is normal. Then just take some magnesium with it, and that should alleviate that in moments. So don't panic if that happens. Just make sure you have magnesium on hand. If you have a liquid of magnesium, it works faster than the powder. If you have powder, mix it with baking soda, citric acid, and water, and drink it down. That'll shotgun it into the system, and it'll stop the palpitation.
Magnesium with baking soda and what?
Citric acid.
Like a little lemon juice. That gets it in there quick.
Well, because you're carbonating it. And so what happens is when you carbonate anything, it just sends it through the system like lightning.
That's great. Okay, let's do this one here. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, hi, Patrick. It's Rob.
Hey, Rob, you're on the air up in, you live in Canada too, right?
Yeah, I'm looking at Tony. I can see him in the window.
Okay, go ahead. You're on the air.
Hi, great having Tony back. I contacted Tony after your last show, and I just thought a couple of things I would add to what he was saying about. First thing is, just on your iodine, Tony has a fabulous PowerPoint PDF from some doctors on his website that's just excellent. So I really encourage everyone to look at that.
Okay.
Couple points. What you eat is also what you ate. So I would worry about, like I'm a grass-fed farmer, so I'm going to be promoting not eating GMO grain in animals. But anyway, that's one point. Okay. On credentialism, about not having credentials, the thing that I've discovered is this whole business, Patrick, and you don't have credentials either, but I'm quite willing to listen to you. I think we have to judge everything on the merits because it's such a massive subject. I don't think anyone can really have a handle on it.
The proof's in the pudding here. What's working, right? And our motives, right? And our focus, and who to listen to.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I've learned so much from you and your show, so I'm so appreciative of it. And the last thing I was thinking was Dan Scow, who runs International Ag Labs. I heard a lecture of his 7-10 years ago, and he said they had been doing tests on mycotoxins in grains, and they were looking at grape nut cereal, and they couldn't find a box that wasn't loaded with mycotoxins.
Wow.
And these mycotoxins, I think Tony's caution there is really important.
Mm-hmm.
We have a bodybuilder kind of nutrition place up here.
Yeah.
And I've stopped going there because I could only find one product in the whole store that I thought would be safe to consume.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So.
Okay, thank you, Robert. We got to run because we're kind of short on time. Here is someone, his name is Frank. He's in St. Louis. He has Duprin's conjuncture in his hand. Do you know what that is?
No, he'll have to define that for me.
That's a finger that kind of bends in. And
oh, yeah. We had a guy like that in Arizona. What we gave him for that, it worked for a while. I guess it all depends on the level of how far damage is, but we gave him serapeptase.
Serapeptase.
Okay, MSM.
Yeah.
1,000 milligrams of MSM. Serapeptase at 10 milligrams or 20,000 ISU units. And we gave him B1, and it actually started to strengthen the hand. Matter of fact, the guy, I'll tell you how bad his was. When he bent his finger, it actually squeaked like a joint. Just beep, 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 like that. And when we got him on that stuff, after 4 weeks, he said he was able to strengthen his hand out considerably more, and the squeaking stopped.
But it didn't hold?
Something went on with this person. I don't know what happened.
Sure.
I mean, it was through years and years of repetition because he was a musician. He just couldn't take the time off to really rest that he needed so that the tissue could repair properly.
Now, that's a form, that's kind of in the same genre as like Peyronie's, right, where people get it in the penis, actually. Is it calcium or fibrin and stuff like that gets in there? What could you use externally? I've heard people use iodine and DMSO. And what would you do?
For what, the penis or for the hand?
Both.
Penis, I don't know if I'd use DMSO. That would definitely sting a wee bit, and so would iodine. For the hand, actually, I would probably even tell them to use turpentine and salt.
What?
And rub it. Turpentine and salt.
Now, wait a minute. Like you talking about go to the hardware store?
Go to the hardware store, buy yourself some turpentine. It's the best healant you'll ever spend money on the planet.
The best what?
Healant.
Healant?
Healant. It'll heal so many things, from tumor growth, blockages.
What?
You mix that with salt, it will do things it will clear things in your system. Those people who are suffering with Morgellons, if you make a turpentine salt, and you apply it to the area with a rag and massage it in, it'll burn like blazes, but you will start seeing things come out. You will start seeing lesions shrink. You will start seeing tissue starting to go back to normal. You will see all kinds of, if you cut yourself, let's say you're a bleeder, you get turpentine, dab the cut, it will stop the bleeding.
Isn't turpentine toxic?
No, not at all. You know what turpentine is?
No, I have no idea.
Pine oil.
Pine oil.
Or if you're in Canada, balsam fir, bark from the balsam fir. That's all it is.
From the pine tree.
They got all these warnings on there because back in the day, the slaves back in the day used to use turpentine. It'll kill candida. It's the best thing for candida I've ever seen.
Not internally.
Internal, yes.
You're kidding. People are.
I take it every day internally, mixing it with honey and salt. I take it every day.
How much?
Still here.
How much?
I take a teaspoon every day.
Teaspoon of because it's pine oil from the pine tree. Pine tree is pretty amazing, yeah. Anyway, so what if you're going to rub it on? How would you mix that mixture if you're going to rub it on?
Basically, you make a paste out of it because dissolve some salt and water and then add your turpentine to it and mix it up. It will separate. So you have to shake it up and then put it on a cloth. And you just proceed to massage it into the area.
Wow.
Now, again, I would not tell you to do this to the penis because it will hurt like hell. But in the hand, if there's something in your hand, metal components or tissue that are blocked, it'll open up the blood vessels, and if there's any pollutants, the salt carries through and goes into the cells and starts to extract things out. And I've had a wound on my leg for years that for some reason wasn't healing, and as soon as I applied it on there, it started to disperse the concentration of pollution or toxins that was in there. It's starting to actually heal now. It'll even fix gangrene.
Sharon just sent me this, Tony. Turpentine, also called spirit of turpentine oil of turpentine, and wood turpentine, is a fluid obtained by the distillation of resin obtained from the live trees, mainly pines, composed of terpenes, mainly the monoterpenes, alpha pine. Wow, I had no idea. Hi.
Go on my webpage. I've got a turpentine link on my webpage.
That's crazy.
Okay, and and even on the script of the show on the same page, look at this June 29 script. There are recipes on how to use turpentine.
Cool.
You can take it orally. If you've got children, I'll tell you how safe it is. If you've got children, you can give them a teaspoon of this stuff mixed with honey or a sugar cube or oil, and if they've got a parasite, it ain't happy.
Really?
Yeah, it ain't happy.
Do you mix the honey or sugar just for taste, or just does it?
No, you have to use a carrier. Okay, you can take it straight up, but we're dealing with children here.
Okay.
And I always encourage safety, because a lot of people are a little bit daft. They figure a little bit is good and a lot's better. Or if it's working good because it's diluted, let's take it undiluted.
Mm-hmm.
I always encourage to use dilutions, because you do not know your reaction on this stuff. But you will find, for those of you with rheumatoid arthritis, restless leg syndrome, if you take it orally, you will find that you will have relief in moments.
Turpentine, honey, and what else?
Salt.
Oh, you mean internally?
Yep, and external. External, just turpentine and salt.
And then if you did internally, you would do turpentine, honey, and salt?
And salt, yeah.
What kind of proportions you doing? Say if you had a tea of turpentine, what would you use?
So let's say you take 1 teaspoon of turpentine, 2 tablespoons of honey, and just sprinkle your salt and just mix it up really good. And when you get done mixing it up, then just use only a teaspoon of that mixture.
Oh, okay. Wow. Isn't that great? Now, Tony, we've got like 30 emails and 2 minutes. So we're just going to, could we come back on again? We'll just do 2 hours. This is out of control,
Okay, yeah.
We have too much fun. We'll have too much fun in 2 hours.
People are looking for, listen,
I know.
The information that we're talking here, you and I,
yeah,
it's on my webpage. You feel free to go to it. We did 2 new videos out. We just cut 2 new videos, how to make a nootropic and how to make a chelator. And I show you how to make the pills, how to measure what's inside your pill, so you know how you have an exact measurement of what you're putting together. So feel free to go on the YouTube and look at that. Go on the webpage. I tell people all the time, go on my webpage and download anything and everything off that page. Yeah. It's free. The word free does apply there. There's no obligation to send any money. It's there free.
Yeah, that's like what we do. AugmentInforce.50webs.com. I want to do one quick one before we go, because this person sent this in when they heard they have plaque or calcium in their arteries. What are some of the best things to do to get rid of that?
Serrapeptase with EDTA would be really good.
Serrapeptase.
Yep, I'm a big fan of serrapeptase enzymes. So anybody that comes to me with the natto, I tell them forget the natto. It's a waste of time as far as I'm concerned. Go with serrapeptase. Serrapeptase will even break down asbestos. EDTA, definitely use that. You can take, whether it's sodium EDTA or calcium EDTA, whatever, use either one. Using magnesium in high levels to help, again, displace the excess calcium. If it is really excessive, then they may need to take some iron. They may have an iron deficiency. So you have a lot of ways you can do this.
I've never heard of serrapeptase enzymes. Are they just a systemic enzyme?
They're used in a lot of things. Systemic wise, you can use them for breaking down proteins, but they used to use that 50 years ago in Europe for breaking down arterial plaque in the heart, for removing the calcium and other deposits in the heart. It breaks down the fibrogen in the system as well.
If someone has a good diet and they're getting some of this blockage, what's the cause? Could be inflammation, infections?
Could be a lot of things. Could be the nanoparticles in the food. You got to remember, there are nanoparticles in our food today. We got titanium dioxide, which is equivalent to taking asbestos, and that's in the food. You've got nanoparticles of silver, gold, barium, aluminum that you're breathing in, and which is also falling in your food supply, in your water supply, which you're also ingesting. Nanoparticles and genetics are going to be the wave of the future for healers to have to deal with, because these are going to be the actual root causes of people's problems. Before it was pollutants and chemicals, but now the sophistication of the poisoning is going to be more on a genetic or cellular level, and you have to remove those things out before the body will start recalibrating itself.
And where do those things store themselves?
In your cells, in your tissues, in your organs. It's a complete overriding your DNA. That's what these things do.
That sounds spooky, Tony.
Well, it is.
Sure.
It is.
Well, it is. So, what are some of the ways we do things ongoing we want to do to get these guys out, keep them out?
Enzymes number one. I tell you, without enzymes, nothing works.
Enzymes. What do you mean, like a systemic enzyme?
Systemic enzymes, digestive enzymes, serrapeptase type enzymes, trypsin type enzymes. Without enzymes, your antioxidants do nothing. Your hormones do nothing. Breaking down of the proteins for assimilation into amino acids does nothing. To turn the carbs into sugars that your body requires does nothing. To break down the fats for hormonal production does nothing.
Well.
You need enzymes, number one. Okay, number two, I would probably tell you start using things that minerals that can also help displace toxic metals. The other thing I would also, because also minerals also convert to enzymes. Antioxidants, and there's this full spectrum of antioxidants, and that's just a topic all on its own. Depending on where you live and what you're exposed to is going to, again, be the determining factor in what you're going to take to give you the best offense to keep you healthy.
What is your most favorite systemic enzyme to take?
For me?
Yeah.
The two I use all the time are trypsin and serrapeptase.
Oh, there are two separate ones.
Yep.
So trypsin it's a systemic enzyme itself, and then
It can be, yes.
Serrapeptase. Yep. So you just look and find a serrapeptase enzyme on the web and a trypsin on the web?
Yep. You should. If you go on my webpage, I got an enzyme link. I've got serrapeptase on there. I've got trypsin on there, just to start you off on your information quest, and then just go from there.
Yeah. Well, Tony, it's a pleasure to have you on. We'll do it again real soon, and we'll just do a couple hours, and because we could go forever. And as you know, I really appreciate all your research. I have no idea if what you're saying is accurate, but it sounds right. You know what I'm saying, because I don't know you.
Yeah.
But
Listen, you know what? I always tell people all the time, test the sources all the time. I'd rather you test the sources, and you don't have to agree with me either. I really, one way or the other, if you agree or disagree.
Sure.
But at least it'll get you started on a search so you can better determine what works for you.
Yeah, good job. Thanks, Tony. We'll take care. All right.
You too, thanks.
Tony Pantalleresco. I think we're going to get fertile here in a minute, but the doc hasn't called in. We could have kept him on. Well, we're with Al Carter, the world's foremost authority on rebound exercise. Al, I'm 65. I know you're older than that, and my muscles are just firm. I mean, I don't have big muscles. I'm only 120 pounds, but my muscles are firm, and I know it's because I rebound exercise. Why is that? I mean, what happens?
Well, actually, Patrick, rebound exercise is a cellular exercise because of the fact that we use forces of gravity, acceleration, and deceleration. Every cell in the body has to automatically adjust to a new environment, and that new environment is an increased G-force effect. So all of the cells of the body, regardless of where they are, actually have to become stronger, and they don't have a choice.
They don't have a choice. I like that. That was perfect, Al. You're so good, man. You got to get your own company. They don't have a choice. They don't have a choice. It's the best one, we think. The Rebound Air lifetime warranty, delivered $269 via UPS. Just click an order right on the front page or in our store on OneRadioNetwork.com. Daniel Vitalis, the colostrum we offer is from moo cows. Why is it good for people?
There's a sort of wonder of nature in that there's this relationship between cows and people where cows' colostrum is actually extremely bioactive in human beings. We've known that for 8,000 years. And there are over 4,000 medical studies confirming that when human beings consume cow colostrum, a similar thing happens in their body. It starts to format their immune system. It seems to be due to substances that are found in colostrum that are called immune factors, and also this really amazing substance called transfer factor, which somehow transfers the immunity over from the cow to human beings. But the important thing to remember is that we're living in an era where there's more people alive today with dysfunctional immune systems than ever before. And colostrum gives us the ability to actually restructure, rebuild, and reformat our immune systems so we can really thrive in our modern world today.
Thriving, yes, indeed. We like that. The colostrum is now in the 1 and 2 kilo bags as well, or you can get capsules or a smaller size. Just click an order right on the front page. And it's your Thrival link on OneRadioNetwork.com. Well, I'm just musing here. You know, I just mused to myself during the commercials and saying, wow, I wonder how effective the far-infrared sauna would be from getting these little nano doodads out of our cells. And I don't know, but I think it would be good just to buy into the fact, because even if it doesn't on paper, then it would because you believe it. You know what I mean? We like this form of detoxification. I think Tony's right, and other people certainly are right, the people we continue to talk to. Somehow, man, this planet Earth thing worked out to pretty strange here, with everything going on, and it's just the way it is, and we're not going to freak out about it with the chemtrails and GMO and who knows, all this stuff. I mean, it's just the way it is. How do we ever get here? Well, that's another show, but we're here, and we're going to just do the best we can with it, stay here as long as we can, and fulfill our spiritual mission, and that's to keep our life together and the rest of it, right? So we're going to do everything we can, and without freaking out. So we think the sauna is a reasonable investment because we know that does a lot of good things. We know exactly what it does, but the proof is only going to be in the pudding for you when you start to do it every day or every other day or 2 or 3 times a week. See how you feel. See how you sleep. See how your energy. See what your hair looks like, what your eyes. See how your elimination. Everything. And I think you'll find that you're going to be a happier camper than when you weren't doing it. That's my opinion. That's been my experience. So I don't know all it does. People can make a lot of claims, but we just do what we do and keep promoting things that we see that are working. This is a cool sauna. It is portable. You sit there in the little chair, which they give you, and you rock and roll. And you can put it anywhere in the house and move it around. There's no plumbing, of course, because it's just it's a plug-in job. But these far infrared healing lights, pretty powerful, pretty cool. Very, very low EMF. There's not an issue there. We've tested it, so you're good to go. It is a $935 investment, $935 Federal Reserve notes, just pieces of dirty paper, nothing to concern yourself with. Just kidding. And it is for you. Continental U.S. That's price. If you live in Alaska, you live up by Tony in Canada, or you live in Hawaii, it's not a big hit to get a ship there. Let us know. Give us your zip code and your address, and we'll give you exact extra shipping, and we'll work it out. People have even ordered from Australia and Europe, and when that happens, we actually have them shipped directly from where they're made in Taiwan, and then with a special plug, and it actually works. Pretty cool. So this is good, and we like it. $935. Use the promo code OneRadio on OneRadioNetwork.com.